Hello and welcome back. Before we get to part 2, Real Talk, please allow us to fulfill our capitalistic duty and plug our Patreon, the Contrarian Supplements.
That's right. For a small fee, you too can help the Contrarians rage on.
We have tiers ranging from just $1 to $10. It all depends on how much content you can handle.
Starting at $1, it's the Travoltis tier, which gets you access to new bonus episodes focusing on a new movie every month, as well as access to the patron chat. Join other patrons in making fun of our opinions.
Moving up to $3 is the Winonis tier, which unlocks access to our pre-recording notes, our video reviews, and our spin-off show, Contrarians After Hours.
That's a more laid-back space where we talk about other things we've been watching, reading, playing, thinking about. Sometimes it's related to the movies being covered in the main feed, but it usually isn't.
If you want to be part of those patrons who help us shape the show by telling us which movies to tackle, that's when you sign up for the $5 tier, the Embries, and the $10, the Gads.
Finally, all supplement subscribers, regardless of the tier, get access to our archive of special patron projects. Head over to patreon.com/contrarianprime now to join.
Be sure to listen through the end of the episode to find out what's coming up to the Contrarian Supplements this month. Now, it's time for some Real Talk.
Well, the other big story, John Q goes on trial today for kidnapping and attempted murder charges, all because an HMO denied coverage for his son's heart transplant.
That it's going to be more expensive for you in the future, HMOs, to deny coverage when people really need.
Tonight, as the trial continues, John Quincy Archibald, vigilante or heroic father, you
is to sue the
decide.
pants off them for millions of dollars to let them know.
We've known for years that this is a crappy healthcare system.
Government,
We've
they
known
don't
for
care
years
about
that
us.
it had
The whole country has to
I guess
change.
John Q was using one of those faith-based healthcare plans. That's where you just pray and the government does
Of course,
nothing.
who would not agree with that? The point is that the enemy that we're trying to identify is us. That's the point, is that we are the ones who shot down national health care. We are the ones who don't want our taxes raised. You have to look in the mirror for this problem, yes.
Julio, I think we had a lot of fun in the first portion of this. I know that. But I think you and I would both agree that there's probably a really good dramatic movie, even with a story very similar to this, that needs to be made to raise awareness of the fucked up situation that is the American medical system. And also,
I can't believe that it hasn't been made. Maybe it's been made. It just doesn't star any Hollywood celebrities. I
think we'll get into my thesis as to why that may not be here momentarily, but even more so, the moral quandary that Anne Heche poses in this movie of like, well, we can't just give him what he wants because then, people will just think they can step all over the medical society now. So this movie, I don't think treats those topics and, the would-be mental deliberations with the level of seriousness I think it could be treated with, to say the very least. It's a bit of an insane film. Had you seen it before?
No. I'd seen like bits of it. Like I knew it was a movie where Denzel takes a hospital hostage because it was playing on the TV at one of the restaurants where I waited tables long ago. Someone was like, "Hey, that's Denzel. He has a gun. He's in the hospital." I caught the gist of it as I was waiting tables and walking past the TV, but that was it. I had no idea that it was about the injustice of the medical system. I had no idea that Nick Cassavetes was the director. I just knew it was just a Denzel thriller. I figured he was John Q, but I wouldn't have, bet my life on it or anything. I was like, maybe John Q is the name of the hospital. Who knows?
Did you also have a moment like myself during the course of this movie where you went, what is this movie?
No, because they had that Rotten Tomato score. So I was like, this was not received well, which means that it's either that people took offense to the message, what it's trying to say. They're like, I don't need you to tell me how to feel about health insurance, or it's badly made just overall. Turned out to be both. But as it was happening, I was like, would you say, Alex, that the first 30 minutes, before he takes the hospital hostage, the first 30 minutes or so, they could turn out into a better movie. It doesn't jump the shark until 30 minutes in.
Yeah, that's fair.
But still, those first 30 minutes, they're kind of shaky. So when it just completely went bonkers, I was like, all right, that was one way that it could go, and it went that way. I'm not surprised, not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Much to discuss. Well, actually, I don't know if there's much to discuss, but there's things to discuss.
Kevin Connolly would disagree.
Yeah, but Julio, what positive quotes did you pull from us, or for us, excuse me?
There are a few. I'm going to start with John Patterson from LA Weekly, who says, a coercive script by James Kearns and some middling direction by Nick Cassavetes can't rob the movie of an undeniable, headlong, crowd-pleasing power as it tackles an issue that touches us all.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, the writing sucks, the directing sucks, but the message is good. So fresh tomato. Molly Osberg from Jezebel says, if you happen to be into movies like Die Hard and think the American insurance reimbursement system is full of shit, it's an immensely satisfying experience. Is this Die Hard in the hospital? I don't think so.
No. He's not trying to he's not trying to stay hidden or anything, you know?
No. He's not the good guy trying to beat the bad guys that took over the hospital.
Yeah, he's not working. It's not some clandestine operation Denzel's pulling off here. He ran in with a gun and said, do what I say.
Die Hard in a hospital would be if Denzel pulls this off and then James Woods or Kevin Connolly have to crawl around the air vents to stop him. That's Die Hard. Molly, rewatch Die Hard. Next, Brandon Collins from Medium Popcorn says, Denzel carries this movie on his back, which saves the movie from fully drowning. It should have been a great Denzel movie, but because of its flaws, it is just okay.
I feel that is pretty close to aligning with my feelings.
How often do you think people walk away from a Denzel movie saying, well, this would have been bad, but Denzel carried it on his back? Like, that was kind of how I felt with Gladiator 2. When I was like, I should be angry, but at least I got Denzel.
Yeah, I don't know if I think of the wrong person in the lead. I might be mad after this movie was over, but I guarantee that's why this movie made over $100 million is because Denzel was at the helm. You
need the Denzel charisma to get us to root for the guy that takes over the hospital that keeps all these people hostage. We're going to close with John R. McEwen from Film Quips Online, who says, Washington, Woods, and Duvall are so capable, they almost saved this schlockfest from itself. 3.5 out of 5. I mean, it's a fresh tomato, but he called it a schlockfest.
Jeez.
Do you think that those are the top three? Washington, Woods, and Duvall? In this movie?
Yeah, I mean, James Woods, as much guff as we were giving him and as much guff as we give him in real life, IRL, yeah, he's pretty good in this. I mean, he's a good actor. That's when I think some of his cadence and delivery, especially when like everyone's staring at him, like for being, a crook or whatever, and the way he reacts to it. Yeah, I think he's good. And yeah, Robert Duvall is typically the highlight of anything he's involved in. If
Liotta had more screen time, I think he could have taken the movie from all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he's there for like 3 scenes. So no love for Anne Heche?
She's fine. The script really only calls upon her to be a bitch. So it's just kind of, even though she does, I guess, get a little bit of redemption, it's so, I can just see them stopping takes. And no, you have to be more condescending, more mean.
Don't show emotion. Just deliver these really cruel lines as if you don't care. That was the last quote, Alex. So what sinks this movie? Is it just that the tone? That it's just a little too silly?
Well, the second half of it basically being beat for beat Airheads was kind of...
But do you like Airheads?
Airheads is incredible. Airheads is a legitimate 5-star classic. Because it's a comedy. That's the whole deal. When they fucking give Kramer a gun and send him in the air shaft to try to shoot him, and he keeps like falling because it's Kramer. That's all he can be is Kramer. But and then he like drops the gun, and they get it, and then they pull him out and tie him to a chair and shit. Like it's that's all funny. Here, this inept sniper shooting Denzel in the shoulder and then getting beat up. That it's funny, but it's not meant to be. And the negotiations between, I was like, I'm kind of doing a bit here, but not really. Like some of the dialogue that Robert Duvall and Denzel have when they're negotiating, the release of a hostage or something. I'm like, this is like fucking Airheads. I feel like, Nick Cassavetes or James Kearns, let's say, the screenwriter, went and saw Airheads in '94 when it was released and then kind of forgot about it and then rewrote it and thought it was his idea.
Hey, don't handle me, Frank. You understand me? I don't want to be handled. It insults my intelligence as a human being.
Take it easy, John. The idea is not to get too excited, all right?
But what sinks this movie is, I think, just what you said, the tone. And, I'll pull my Airheads thing out. And look, the repugnant and disgusting state of, and I know everywhere is not perfect either, but I live in America and, we border a country that has socialized medicine, which again, there are limitations and speed bumps with that too. And every time people talk about on both sides of it, Canada having free healthcare for its citizens, I hear people on both sides say things that are just wrong. It's like, you don't understand how that works. It's not the end all be all perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we have right here. So people like you and myself, Hulu, can be really sensitive to how fucked up it is, especially for personally having gone through, with my family over the past few years, just constant dealings with it and just seeing how just gross it is. And again, like I said in the first half, I know there are people that still want to get in to medicine for good and, do good, and because they want to make the world a better place and help people, and they really care about their patients and whatnot. But the point of it is, it's such a disgusting system. It's so broken. It so only cares for the wealthy. It helps if you're white too. That topic deserves to be treated with a level of seriousness that is not in this movie. And when it comes close to it, you get kind of excited. You're like, okay, we might be getting somewhere with this now. And like I said, too, it's interesting because the John Q character is still like breaking the law and he's taking innocent people hostage. And, there's an interesting moral conundrum that comes along with that. But then as soon as we kind of dance around that line, this movie reestablishes that it has no interest in taking any of that seriously. You know what I mean? It feels like, and I enjoyed this movie for just how batshit insane it is.
Yeah.
But it feels like such a, what's that annoying phrase that influencers use? A life hack. It feels like a life hack is, okay, we're going to take something everyone can relate to in the most serious way possible. And that is money. And, what would you do if your kid was dying? How far would you go? And then we'll put Denzel in it and make it like an action movie. And then Robert Duvall is going to be the negotiator, which there's a movie where Denzel takes people hostage and Robert Duvall's the negotiator. That is like, the greatest movie of all time. But the problem is the subject matter they use here, it feels like such a crutch just to elicit an emotional response from the viewer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I keep like circling through like the many different things that I think this movie does wrong. And so I can't settle on one. As you were talking, you were reminding me of all the different things that, because you're right. You can make a movie about Denzel, even with a similar setup, right? The action movie approach or the thriller approach is just, he can still be doing it for the reasons he does it here. But then you strip away all the moralizing and all that, which, I agree with the points this movie wants to make. Mm-hmm. But I felt I had to keep rolling my eyes at the way it made them. So I'm like, you probably would be more effective if you just get rid of all the bullshit soapbox speeches, from Kevin Connolly, and from every time somebody would go like, and that's why the healthcare system is broken. I was like, I know.
Yeah.
Can we just make this a hostage movie? Like that's a way of doing it. It's like use it as a starting point and then make it a really cool hostage movie, between Denzel, Robert Duvall, Ray Liotta. And then at the end of the movie, people trust people to kind of like maybe retain a little bit of why this all happened is because we had the broken healthcare system. Or you want to point out how ridiculous it is that this country hasn't figured out a way of keeping children from dying because there's no coverage, or rather it's not interested in figuring it out, then I think you just lean into the satire of it all. Like, I don't know, Alex, if you were as surprised as I was when I realized that there was a crowd of John Q fans outside the hospital. I was like, when did that happen? Like, I knew that they'd been trickling in.
Airheads. Yeah.
That also happens in their heads.
Oh yeah, that's the big thing is because it's on the radio instead of television, it's the radio and people become aware that this band has taken the radio station hostage, and so like these throngs of people crowd around, and that's part of it is that Ernie Hudson has to work crowd control because the masses are there in support of the Lone Rangers.
I mean, that is a different movie. Then you forget about it being a thriller, and now it's just a comedy. It's satire about.
Well, yeah, that movie's a comedy. That's the whole thing. Like they use fake guns to take a radio station hostage so they can play their song.
We're not that far. Denzel only has one bullet, and he never planned on using it.
Again, yeah. I think that there's definitely fire where there's smoke on this, but that also, to your point, it's. In Airheads, it's like a few people, and then by the end of the movie, it shows the progression of how big the crowd's getting. In this, it just is like we see Robert Duvall show up by himself to the scene, and then the next cut to outside of the hospital, there's it's WrestleMania out there.
Yes. I was like, how do they know? And also, because this movie is trying to be somewhat realistic, it seems to be taking place in the real world, I can't fathom anybody getting that close to a crime scene where there's an armed gunman and when there's already people that have gotten hurt. Like, it seemed like that wouldn't happen. Like, it would only happen if you're just making it funny on purpose. Mm-hmm. And there are times where like this movie tries to go there, where they go with the, you hear the crowd shouting their support for John Q. And I'm like, yeah, that belongs in, that's like Natural Born Killer shit. What movie did we do recently that was also like that? Where we're like, oh, they're doing Natural Born Killer stuff.
Joker 2.
Yes. God. I mean, don't be Joker 2, but that's another way in which you can tackle it. And you use this enhanced reality to point out that everything is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they have to hold these conversations, these negotiations. There's so much red tape when there's a child that's dying, right? Yeah. That is insane. And so we're going to tackle it by making the movie insane. But no, they try to go about it as if it was a realistic thriller. And so it just jumps out as this as not making any sense. But then you could also just make it a drama. And so then it's not a Hollywood blockbuster. Now it's like an awards darling, right? Mm-hmm. Where you just forget about the hostage taking situation. And it's just the first 30 minutes of this movie, which show Denzel trying to work the system and failing. But you stretch them for like 90 minutes. But you cut out all the bullshit. So, of course, Anne Hage doesn't get like a change of heart at the end. And maybe you can still have that movie, that plot development where Denzel decides, well, can I just give my heart to my kid?
As crazy as that is.
As crazy as that is. But I imagine that is a possibility, right? If he knows that he's a match because he's already done the tests, then he could just have a quiet conversation with his wife where, maybe what happens is, because it took so long, even though they put him on the list, now he's so close to dying and the donor, there's just not a match. Like the lady that gets hit by a truck at the beginning of the movie doesn't exist. So he's on the list. They won, except that they didn't win because there's no match. And so with the kid dying, Denzel has a conversation with his wife and says, well, we know that I'm a match. So it's just between the two of them. And then he commits suicide and then the kid gets his heart. Does that make sense legally? I don't know. But I think it could make for a better movie if you just make it a drama. I'm not saying that Nick Cassavetes should have done that because clearly he wanted to make like the big Hollywood blockbuster with the, all the Hollywood stars and the excitement of a hostage situation. But it would have been a better movie than what we got, or it could have been a better movie than what we got.
You're good.
Excuse me?
Quite the performance. A comforting embrace, a sincere look. For a minute, I actually believed that you cared.
What the hell was that shot of Robert Duvall checking out Anne Heche?
B-roll?
Bob thought they had already cut.
Did he do that as Frank Grimes, or did he do it as Robert Duvall after he knew that the scene was done?
Whatever the case it was, I laughed really, really hard because I was like, what the hell?
Was it Cassavetes? Like, it's okay, let's do one more, but in this one, you check out her ass as she walks away.
Duvall's like, whatever. It's almost time for lunch.
How do you feel about Nick Cassavetes as a director?
I was kind of pontificating that in preparation for this. He knows, I think he definitively knows what kind of movies he wants to make. I don't think he's a guy that you'd find any confusion of what kind of a response he wants to get from his movies. Be it this, I mean, he followed it up with The Notebook, My Sister's Keeper. He did the. I thought he did Fault in Our Stars, but no, that I must have been confusing that with My Sister's Keeper. It's a very similar story of a youth getting sick. Anyway, I would say by and large his stuff's not for me. You know, I like many people of my age was dragged to the theater to see The Notebook in high school on a date because I was trying to, you know, earn some favorable light with the gal that wanted to see it. And I remember just watching it, and I still find it just so saccharine and so kind of just lowest entry points of like trying to elicit emotional response. I screened My Sister's Keeper, and I feel I remember that one did a little bit better job, but still with what it deals with and like the varying level of tone, you know, you're dealing with a very sick child dying, and then you try to mix in like these family elements and stuff. I think he takes topics that have great merit to them and then just does what you and I would jokingly refer to as just makes a movie out of him. I've never seen Alpha Dog. I know it's on the list of despised Eddie Strait movies. He'll find
the
a way.
National Registry. I thought that's where you were going.
I know I've like in conversation he's found ways just to bring it around to bury Alpha Dog, but that has to do with like a kid getting kidnapped, right?
I've never seen it. I just know that was okay. The one thing I think about with Alpha Dog is I think that was the first time that people went, oh, Justin Timberlake can act.
Yeah. So I would just say he's a guy that makes movies for the masses that deal with subjects that people can, you know, misconstrue as like really deep movies. But it has worked out for him tremendously because his movies have made a lot of money, and that would, I guess, be where my feelings reside about him.
Yeah, I was looking through his filmography. I'm not going to say that he makes schlock, and I just wanted to use the word schlock because that quote used it. But he definitely makes movies I don't like. So I've seen She's So Lovely, his 1997 movie with Travolta, Robin Wright, and Sean Penn. And I remember thinking, I mean, this was a long time ago. So, of course, if I watch it today, maybe I would feel differently. But I remember thinking that movie was a mess. And I was like, I don't like it. It was... I think Robin Wright is married to Travolta, but Sean Penn is her high school boyfriend, and so she leaves Travolta for him, or maybe it's the other way around. I think Travolta is the bad guy, but I remember watching and thinking, he's getting cheated on. He's not the bad guy. So it was just, and it was trying to be funny, but it was also kind of dramatic. One of them might die by the end. I don't know. It's just not, I remember thinking it was not a good movie. Now I've seen John Q, which I don't like. Never watched The Notebook. I feel like it's too sad. I have seen My Sister's Keeper. I think I also screened it, Alex. You and I screened this movie in separate cities. I think it was all right. That one also had like the medical conundrums, right? Because isn't it that...
well, part of that is, we get the dedication here for Sasha at the end of this, and my very brief research on that was his daughter, who inspired John Q and My Sister's Keeper. She had a lifelong battle with congenital heart defect, which required multiple surgeries, and along the way encountering issues similar to those portrayed in this movie.
I mean, that makes sense because that explains why he would make it. It certainly seems like he's passionate about the subject. Mm-hmm. And then The Other Woman, 2014. I know I've seen that on a plane. Maybe I watched some of it like in the background, but that's that comedy with Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, and maybe Kate Upton. Well, yeah, Kate Upton. Oof. That is just like an all-out comedy, and maybe that's what Cassavetes needs to. He just needs to embrace the comedy of it all. Stop trying to make serious movies. But he's also an actor, Alex. I always bring up the open mouth kiss with Gina Gershon, who's playing his sister in Face Off.
Yeah.
And he wrote, I saw he had a credits writer on something.
He wrote Blow. I know that.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. I've seen Blow. That's why Ted Demme is in this movie. Ted Demme directed that movie.
Ah.
Okay. Mystery solved. He's got a career. He's figured it out. I wonder how, when he looks back at John Q, if he's like, I probably could have done a better job.
Yeah. So what do you like in this?
It's entertaining. Like what you said, like you sat through this without a problem. I did too. It was fun. Kind of the extra layer of fun is knowing that we're about to make fun of it. You know, that we're going to have a laugh at its expense once we record it. Because I knew even while being positive about it, I could just be funny. And so that kind of allowed me to have fun with the movie. It didn't make me angry in the way that maybe a badly made movie that also made points that I don't agree with probably would. Like, you know, if it was the same level of filmmaking and storytelling, but it was in the service of somebody that tells you that it's, you know, it's Denzel's fault for not pulling himself and his family up by the bootstraps and, you know, just working harder and making more money so he can afford, you know, no, the argument would be like, well, he shouldn't have kids if he can't afford healthcare for his kid. So a movie like that, made like this movie, would make me angry. But a movie that's trying to argue something that I think is right just kind of makes me roll my eyes. Maybe a little bit of like secondhand embarrassment. You know, I was like, you're making us look bad, man. But Denzel is good. I thought Ray Liotta was great. I wanted more Ray Liotta. When he walks in and he's just like all PR, smiling to the cameras, greeting his fans. And
yeah.
And then he kind of like backstabs Duvall. But then the best part is that because the sniper fails, then Liotta has to come back hat in hand to Duvall and unsuspend him, right? Because he suspends him. He's like, you're dismissed. Yeah. But then he comes back to him because John Q will only talk to Duvall. And he's like, please, I'm asking you for a favor. I stepped in shit. I need you to help me.
Look, Kitty, come on. Don't start breaking my balls, okay? I screwed up. All right? Please, Frank. Come on. I'll buy you a steak.
And then he offers him a steak dinner. And Duvall asks for a duck. And I'm like, this is wonderful. Let's just stay with these characters. I don't need to go back to the hospital.
What'd you make of the cast of characters there?
I hated that. I hated that. I hated the hostages. Yeah. I like James Woods. This performance as an actor, I think he's generally good. As a social media person, he's an awful human being. But as an actor, yeah, he has that persona, and I think it's a nice twist that he is not. I think that like I said in the Journalist Corner, you would assume, just seeing his name in the credits, that he's going to play the Anne Heche character. But instead, they give him like the doctor that, you know, he walks the line. But the cast, the quirky hostages, man, that is like the worst of the worst tropes when it comes to this type of movie. The message movie where they just give you mouthpieces for different angles. And it's just like, well, we're trapped here, so now we're just going to talk about the issues. And
Eddie Griffin is someone that I've found funny. I've seen him be funny in things like Guilty Pleasure movie, The New Guy with DJ Qualls. He's really funny in that. But you watch this and you just see it's so obvious. He was hot in 2001, 2002. Let's just inject him into this movie and then we'll give him a few moments for him to do his comedy stuff.
Yeah, it's very intentional comedy too, because the whole thing with the kick to the balls to the Mitch character. I mean, that sequence is played for laughs 100%.
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely. I know I fixated on it in Contrarian's Corner, but it's true. The James Woods reaction shot, we need to find or make our own GIF of that. It's just so perfect.
Ooh. Meanwhile, Denzel has been like mazed and he has a scalpel stuck in his shoulder.
He's holding people hostage, and now we're all going to laugh. And, a constant presence of the late 90s, early 2000s, Ethan Suplee, too, getting some work here.
I was actually a little disappointed by how low-key he decided to play it. Like in a movie that has such broad characters, his security guard is just he just disappears in the background.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen Ethan Suplee in a handful of things, so I know he can play broad. He's a Kevin Smith regular. He accidentally got lumped together with the Cassavetes regulars.
is a melding pot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I largely agree with that. Just for your edification in Airheads, that's part of the whole deal, is that the cast is pretty much comprised of all the hostages they take at the radio station, which includes Michael McKean, from Spinal Tap. Oh shit, who else is in it? Joe Mantegna, David Arquette. So there's that's immediately where I went to. But again, that movie's a comedy.
Yeah.
And this is not. And we do get the roundtable discussion a bit. And Eddie Griffin gets to do the judgmental, man, you're a bunch of crooks or whatever to James Woods. And so I don't know, man. It's such an interesting story, and it's kind of relevant, to recent happenings in our country. One thing I read about it is that the movie at the time instilled fear in the healthcare industry that copycat incidents would happen. My first thought was good, but obviously I don't want innocent hostages to be taken. We'll circle back to obviously where this is going to lead in just a minute. But the movie was shot in Toronto, and although the story takes place in Chicago, which I don't remember if they say specifically Chicago until the police get out and you see the Chicago flag on their uniforms. But according to the commentary on the deleted scenes with Nick Cassavetes and writer James Kearns, the main theme of the movie was said to be about a miracle and John's faith in God creating a miracle. Julio, did you get that at any point in this movie?
No. I mean, I do remember him having a line where he says, I'm just waiting for a miracle. I'm hoping for a miracle. But that is insane.
That is a bold thing to say.
Because it's also so fucking disconnected from everything else that the movie's saying. Is he saying that somehow the studio recut his movie so it sounds like pro-free healthcare propaganda instead of it being a pro-believe in God movie?
Socialized medicine, baby.
Yeah.
They also mentioned how SWAT team advisors for the film related a true similar incident, which the way this is worded, it's like, okay, so you just didn't want to say based on a true story. You're putting the blame elsewhere. At St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto, where a man, Henry Masuka, took an ER hostage after it would not provide immediate service to his infant son on New Year's Eve in 1999.
I believe it.
Yeah. When he exited the ER, he was shot and killed and found to have been carrying an unloaded pellet gun.
Jesus. Make that movie.
So, and of course, I mean, it's only natural that we come here because this is what I led off with, or ended with in Contrarian's Corner. After the killing of Brian Thompson in 2024, the film was mentioned in a number of articles about the incident. And for those who may not be familiar, this is the United Healthcare CEO that was gunned down in the street by Luigi Mangione, which obviously sparked a lot of discussion, debate. Luigi's awaiting trial. And if I remember correctly, I think the prosecution is going to seek the death penalty. And this came off the heels of, I believe it was his grandmother that was denied a type of coverage for her illness or whatever. And it's the conversation surrounding this. The good part about this, Julio, is people can listen to this and disagree with us, but they don't have to talk to us directly. This is just you and me having this, and you're one of the only people I'd probably talk about this with. It's,
I was gonna say, please, in this specific case, do not reach out to tell me what you think about healthcare, because I'll have that conversation with Alex, with my family and close friends. I specifically avoid discussing it with other people.
The point of this is, me personally, I had a pretty hard time garnering any sympathy for this dude. Is the way to solve these problems gunning people down in the street? Obviously not. It's also not taking an ER hostage. But in these situations, when these, I don't know, barnacles is too polite of a word to describe these people. But these just, I think, morally bankrupt and corrupt individuals are faced with, the reality of the people whose lives they affect every day. That's not the worst thing in the world. I think, I know one day there's going to be a movie made about that.
I was about to say, how long until the Luigi movie? Nick Cassavetes already writing it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I hope when that's made, they have a bit more dignity than to treat it with the same yo-yoing level of sincerity that John Q has.
So James Woods plays the guy that gets shot. Timothée Chalamet, of course, plays Luigi.
It's true. Now this fucker that got shot, he's a really like elf-looking dude. You need someone more weaselly.
More weaselly than James Woods.
No, we would do. We would circle back to Foxcatcher era Steve Carell and just put like some prosthetics on him to make him look more weaselly.
Hey, John. Take care, man. You my hero.
Anyway, it's an interesting tie-in, and like you said, it's a failing of the film industry that there's not better movies to point to as. That's certainly not a copycat situation because they're completely different things that happen. But it's that's kind of the deal with watching this movie, is that it's kind of a bummer that at the end of it, it's just a Denzel movie where Denzel's, prevailed and is the good guy. So much so that, like we said, his trial seemed to be a bit farcical. It's like, yeah, he still committed a crime, man.
Yeah.
There should be more to it than just triumphant music and Denzel, beat the system at the end.
Were you waiting for them to acquit him completely as they were delivering the verdict?
From what the tone of the movie had been up until that point, I didn't put it past it. I was like, yeah, they might just be like, or right before they read the verdict, the people in the courtroom stand up and go, "I'd just like to say something."
I think part of what makes it so frustrating, Alex, though, is that the elements for a much more powerful, more effective movie are there. That conundrum of this is wrong, but the way that he handles it is also wrong. And what is the right way to go about it? And is it just an unwinnable fight? All that stuff is, you can make a movie where the guy that's doing something that's legally wrong, even morally wrong, is still sympathetic because he's still up against people that are so much worse than him.
Agreed.
That is, it should. And you have already Denzel Washington playing the main character. I mean, it's almost a crime. The real crime is that he didn't make a better movie. Yeah.
And that's what you were describing exactly that Luigi thing of, it's hard to have sympathy to the person this happened to, but it's, I guess, I've always wanted to believe two wrongs don't make a right, but we've seen that with the way our society's progressed, that really doesn't play into it anymore. So then it just becomes like a thing of moral principle and, how you personally interpret things.
The extra element, which is probably too early when they made John Q, but you would make it if you were to remake John Q or just do the Luigi biopic or the Luigi legal drama or whatever, is that
would the third act be in the courtroom?
God, maybe. Who's directing? If it's a Sorkin movie, then please bring it on. But if not, maybe
I can just see like you and me in the theater, or like, it's one of those where for some reason you're like 3 rows behind me, and then we realize there's about 30 to 40 minutes left in the movie, and then it starts the court proceedings, and I just hear you, no.
You just see my soda fly towards the screen. Well, I was thinking that element that's missing in John Q, or that's not in John Q, and would be in any movie made present day, would be the social media side of it, because that's something else that happened with the Luigi story, the hashtag Save Luigi or Justice for Luigi or whatever. That here in this movie you get to see those crowds that show up out of nowhere, but that would be exacerbated, I think, if you focused or you made social media part of the equation in a movie. Yeah. Because it's the same thing. It's like the guy doing the wrong thing for an understandable reason, the bad guys doing bad things for, just for greed, and then the dumb masses that simplify everything down to a hashtag. So I remember getting just not shivers, but just an uneasiness following the Luigi thing when I would see people just outright celebrating murder on social media. It was almost like, oh, you guys were just waiting for an excuse.
Yeah.
But then at the same time,
and again, like, it's not like this guy in particular, what was his name? Brian Thompson. No one knew that that dude personally that was like celebrating his murder. You know, it's not like the Charlie Kirk thing where people like,
right.
Yeah, it was like you said, it was just people wanting to celebrate violence, even if for me personally, the reasoning behind it is a bit more complicated. And I think the thing when I read out that the healthcare industry was worried after this movie came out, and that those pussies that after the killing of Brian Thompson, you know, those CEOs of other healthcare providers had their like names withdrawn from you know, the websites and stuff. If you're worried in a situation like that, it means you're aware you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they know.
Oh no, I know. James Woods knows in this movie. He has that face, and he does. I don't have to listen to this.
Yeah, can you imagine like the CEO that sits down to watch John Q and suddenly has that moment of realization of like, what? He starts calling his people. He calls the board. Like, have you guys watched this movie, John Q? Is this true?
There's a famous story of Kevin Nash and wrestlers that comprise this group called the Click backstage of the whole point of the story is that after one of the pay-per-views, it was like the first time ever wrestlers started comparing like their paychecks. And like Kevin Nash has this story. He called Shawn Michaels. He's like, "What'd you get paid?" And he's like, "I don't know, 40 grand. He's like, "Are you fucking kidding? I got 15. And then he like called Vince to complain about the paycheck. And it was the way he tells the story. It was like Vince's moment of realization that these people talk to each other. He's like, "Oh no, if they figure this out and band together." Yeah. The guy, the Aetna CEO watching John Q being like, "Oh no, they're on to us."
Oh, that's a more realistic approach. I was thinking the guy that watches it and realizes what's happening. He had no idea that he was.
Oh, like he didn't realize he was doing anything wrong. He thought he just worked real hard and made a good life for his family.
Yes. He's like, the system works. It's perfect. He goes like, "What do you mean we're not covering dying children?"
Yeah. He watches it. He's like, "Do we know what happened to young Michael Archibald?"
No. This is an appeal. An appeal is for an already existing claim. What you needed to file was a grievance. You filed the wrong paperwork.
There's like just circumstances you don't prepare for, like in this movie, and your kid gets sick and it can ruin you.
Yep.
Like it can ruin like your life, not just from the perspective of your child being sick, but financially. And that is such an interesting, like, you know, from an artistic standpoint, such an interesting centralized theme of a movie or like a book or something. But then in this movie, you have what you have, where it's Denzel's going to shoot himself in the head to save his kid. You know, it just becomes it's such a movie that the thought of it is grounded in a very relatable sense of reality that I don't think you need to work too hard to, like, you know, show that there's characters of all sorts and whatnot. I don't know. I'm on a bit of a tangent here, but you know what I mean? Like,
because it ties in directly with how we started, I think, Andreas Corner, which was the disparity between the critics' score and the Popcornmeter, which leads to me asking you, Alex, since we're siding with that 26%, you know, we don't think it's good. Are we the baddies? As that meme say, are we just not in tune with what the masses want? Mainstream audiences, they want this extremely simplified. Just give me Denzel spouting the talking points and winning.
No, because I will not apologize for wanting more if it's warranted. A movie like Airheads, I say again, Airheads is not fucking Tragedy of Joan of Arc or something like that. You know? It's not some artistic achievement in the medium, but it knows exactly what it is, and it's fucking hilarious. And I think it's a perfect movie for what it is. I always go to the A-Team since the advent of this show, and that is a movie that is not perfect, but for what it is, it's like, sorry, it is perfect to me, but it's not art or perfect the same way. What's a movie we really like? Inside Llewyn Davis's or something like that.
Master.
But The Master, thank you. But in situations like this, I will not apologize or consider myself being wrong for wanting more. Not only for the topic, but it's got Denzel Washington, James Woods, to a lesser degree, Anne Heche, Robert Duvall, Ray Liotta, Like the parts are there for a great movie, and instead they just kind of settled on the idea of making not gruel, but like this is like Campbell's
close
soup.
to gruel.
Well, it's Campbell's soup. I'll take that. Like those shitty little noodles and the little like pink nuggets that's supposed to be chicken, you know, where that's, you know, a sick day. Your mom makes that in a pot for you when you're sick and you're like, this is okay, I guess. But it's the point is it's not a movie about a fledgling rock band taking a radio station hostage because they want their single to play. It's about a very real subject, and it has a very, like the names I just listed are some of the more celebrated actors, you know, in their field. So no, we're not wrong here. I refuse to believe that.
I side with you, but just to play devil's advocate, I can see how Cassavetes and his team, they would tell you, man, you're missing the point. This movie was not for you. This movie was for the people. You know, this was just supposed to be.
Yes, then it could have been better, and it could have spoken for the people more than it did. He'll
tell you, hey, you're talking about it, aren't you? So the movie did its work.
Touche. Who painted the Tron Ready Steve Austin figure, Nick? That's what I want to know. Did you do that personally?
He's like, who? What?
I swear to God, that popped up, and I immediately paused it with the way the nurse was holding it, and it took me less than 30 seconds. And then, like, after that, I wrote it down in my notes. I was like, man, that's not good that you know that. But I have been collecting wrestling figures for literally as long as I can remember, so I feel qualified to speak on the matter.
Well, Alex, I still think that there might be one or two movies hidden somewhere that didn't star Denzel Washington, and therefore they didn't get the attention John Q did, and they might tackle this topic. Because we've been making movies collectively, you know, as a planet. We're making movies for over 100 years. So there's no way that this being such a good subject matter, such a thorny subject matter, there's no way that there wasn't a couple of independent filmmakers that did something along these lines. Now it's going to be my mission to find those movies.
You know, the good news is that Florian Zeller taught us recently, especially if you're white, you don't have to listen to doctor's orders. You can just check your son out, and then, you know, he's going to be fine. If he just tells you he's going to be fine. Yeah, there's it's obviously it's a very thin line, thin tightrope, as it were, to walk of, because anytime you deal with like medical situations in movies, you kind of have to make the determination. Do you want to make a movie like Stepmom that's going to be accessible to the masses, or like, what's a movie where someone just brutally withers away and you watch all of it? Philadelphia, you know, something like that.
More.
Oh God. Okay. That's a better example, because Philadelphia was still like heralded by the masses. Yeah. Do you want to make Stepmom, or do you want to make a More? But then when you introduce the idea of not just the illness and what that does to your family, but the whole practical side of it, how much is this going to cost? What does insurance cover? What doesn't? So I understand it's not a movie you and I could handle. That's, you know, sometimes you and we brainstorm about ideas and shit, and we sometimes watch movies that I think, you know, if Julio and I got the right budget for this, maybe we could make a crack at it. This isn't the type of shit that you and I could do that. So I'm not saying that like Nick Cassavetes, I'm not telling you I could do it. It's a fine line to walk. What I will give this movie, in its defense, is that it knows what side of the line it wants to be on and doesn't teeter on it. It's just like, okay, this is just going to be a popcorn movie for the masses where Denzel goes through the whole rigmarole of emotions. We're even going to have him joking around at one point and laughing with everybody.
so bad.
Yeah. Whatever he says, you know, unless what's Ethan Suplee's name? Is it Max?
Max, yeah.
Yeah, he goes, unless Max is, you know, O positive. No. And everyone starts laughing. Oh, man. So bad. But that is my point. This movie knows exactly what it wants to be and is that. But what that is not something that or it sounds like you particularly thinks it succeeded.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Robert Duvall on his day off here, by the way.
Yes. That was something I forgot to call out the Good Trailers Corner, that because it's happening on a Saturday, they have to go find Anne Heche, and they bring her back with her Saturday outfit.
I was so bummed she didn't have like the telltale the blanket like the EMS and people put on. the victims are people they need. She just comes in. They should have put a SWAT jacket on her to bring her in with everybody else. It is what it is.
What it is not good. As we careen towards the scores, Alex, I will point out that it's not even good for what it wants to be. That's my opinion. That's why my score is going to be so low, because there's, I think, a way of making a crowd pleaser that makes the little turns better. And speaking of NH, the scene that was not in your cut, that was mine.
I thought you were going to do something weird and praise the Psycho remake.
No, what? No. The scene where she gets a single tear watching TV, hearing the Denzel conversation with his son, which then is supposed to explain why she finally decides to put the kid on the list. That shit is just, there's no justification. I'm like, all right, so you want to make a crowd pleaser, then you need to do better than this, because that is just cheap storytelling. That's a shortcut. It's just, I mean, there's plenty of shortcuts in the movie, but that's the rock bottom, I think. So for that, I just can't even give Cassavetes a passing grade, a middling, like 2 stars. Like, you did, it is what it is. No, this is 1 star for me. What's your score?
Oh, damn. Mine's in the territory of like C-, D+. It would be a 2-star review. So I think there's some elements that I was able to laugh at intentionally or non-intentionally that got me through it. And look, one thing we both said, and this is important to call out because we've done movies on here that it's taken me like 4 or 5 sittings to get through. I watched this all in 1 sitting, and it, like, when it was over, I was like, when it got to the point where, in the movie we're like, okay, we're rounding the climax, I was like, holy shit. At 2 hours, it flew by. So that is a compliment. It's not a movie I'd actively recommend, but it's definitely a movie I could see myself, if someone had seen it, getting into like a conversation about it, I would recommend checking out the nut shot scene just for James Woods' reaction. Can you co-sign that, Julio?
I can co-sign that. I think that I would tell people, hey, do you want to laugh? Then watch John Q. It's a fun movie to make fun of, but it's not a good movie.
All right, well, at best, middling reviews from the Contrarians on John Q. But what a way to kick off 2026. Denzel, once again, thank you for stopping by, my friend. Julio, what is on deck?
I can see Denzel sending us a strongly worded email going like, are you guys ever going to do one of my good movies?
You'd have too many of them, brother. That's the point.
Also, you would reply by saying, we covered Ricochet.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Because Julio said, he's texting me something very hate-filled. He said, I'm expecting it to be better than Ricochet.
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, coming up next, it's going to be my birthday movie. Alex and I had a nice little dinner last night, and one of the things we discussed was just, what are we doing next? And I said, hey, because it's my birthday, you'll do some homework. So officially on the main feed, we're going to be talking about I don't know what year it came out, but it's the finale to the short-lived science fiction show Firefly. It ended with a movie called Serenity, which is Serenity is the name of the ship. And so it stars Nathan Fillion, Alan Tudyk, Gina Torres, the entire cast. They made it to the movie. And so that'll be fun. I don't even know its Rotten Tomatoes score, Alex, but we're doing it. Whatever. We'll see. I think it's fresh. But the homework part comes because while I'm on vacation, Alex is going to have to watch 2 episodes of Firefly. So he's at least somewhat familiar with the characters before we go into the movie that ends their stories. So that's coming up next. Alex, you like Nathan Fillion. You like Alan Tudyk.
It's true.
This shouldn't be a chore.
Yeah, why not? It's something I've heard of. And the Julio had to explain to me because I knew Christina Hendricks was involved somehow, and he said that was the show. And so, yeah, let's see where this takes us.
Yeah, sadly, her character doesn't make it to the movie. But there's plenty of other interesting actors in there. So that's coming up next, Serenity. And then on the Patreon channel, right now, there should be a QVR for Die Hard. That's our Christmas-themed QVR. That's just me. Goes out to Jamie Russell specifically, but it's for all of you to enjoy. There's also the after-hours discussion we had about The Hand That Rocks the Cradle remake. And a lot more stuff that will probably go up between us recording now on December 21st and what's going to happen by the time this episode drops. I mean, you can also listen to our commentaries for Gremlins 2 and Exorcist 3, both dropped Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So a lot of fun stuff. Patreon.com/Contrarian Prime. And now, Alex, let's get out of here.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
Just for old time's sake, I really don't care who